Welcome to the Wellbeing Whizz Omnicast episode 22. And today I've got a really, really super guest. This lady in particular, when I sort of started looking around Instagram for people I wanted on the podcast, her sort of profile jumped out at me and I thought, you know what, we're going to get on like a house on fire. So today should be a fab episode. The lady in question is called Debbie Waite. She's a coach. She described herself as a kick-ass coach, which I quite like. About a couple of minutes ago, we were chatting. And so here she is. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Hello. I'm really good. Thanks, Bevan. Thank you so much for having me.
No, like I said, I wanted to have you on for ages. I was like, you know what? Will would have such a laugh on this. So I just hope I've just got enough hard drive space to record all that nonsense. That's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I mean, so tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us what you do, apart from kicking ass.
Yeah, well, it's a funny one what to call myself. But yeah, so I'm a kick-ass coach, and I help women predominantly figure out who they are, what they want, and how to get it. Because often people forget what their unique identity is. And I want to pull it out of them to make every single person realise that they are flipping amazing. They are unique individuals, and how to start living as that person.
And there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Debbie Waite. It's that. No, I love that. It's such a good, it's a real sort of noble cause almost. Like, I love that people they've got this magic inside them, and you're just setting out to pull it out of them and make them the best they can be. That's grand. So you know what I'm about. I'm an anxiety coach. I help people manage their anxiety. We were talking about this briefly before, so I'm really interested as to what you've got to say. This podcast, Omnicast, is all about anxiety. What's your sort of experience with it, your opinion on it? Have you suffered from it? Tell us all about it.
Oh, Bevan, where do I start on this one? So I would say no. I haven't had anxiety. Do I know people with it? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that I have suffered some of the symptoms of it. But if I'm honest, I don't give it any ownership to that at all. And I tend not to label anything that I go through with a label, because I feel like that gives it more power. So, you know, there's been times in my life where, you know, I felt really down, or I've suffered from, you know, I actually remember being in a garage with my dad about 10 years ago, and he thought I was having a heart attack. I just could not breathe. And I had this piercing pain right through my chest. I took my breath away. I was sweating, and he literally was going to call an ambulance. And I was like, no, it's fine. And I had a few of those episodes over a couple of years.
Which are, you know, panic attacks, but let's not label them.
Well, exactly. They were definitely something was absolutely 100% going on. And I had to figure out what I needed to do with that. But I never gave it a label, because I just think it gives it so much more power, and I wasn't prepared to do it. You know, I focus so much on positivity. You know, that is that's my superpower as such. And so I give loads of power to the positive things, and loads of power to the healthy things, and loads of power to the things that are going to serve me well. But when it comes to the things that feel a bit crappy, physically, mentally, emotionally, I try to not ignore it, because I think that's really dangerous. I'm sure that's something that you know more than me. But I think you need to, you know, accept that it's there, take some ownership of that feeling or that thought or that behavior, and then turn it into something that does serve you.
It sounds like you've done my course already. If you are naturally predisposed to not sort of, like, say, fighting it or not resisting it, if you've already learned to feel a feeling, let it come, label it, and or not experience it, labels it's the wrong word, like have the feeling, experience it fully, and then have an action that follows it, you're not predisposed to anxiety. It's almost the people that are pushing back against it, in my experience, and that, like you say, have labeled it something scary. I've labeled it something like this monster that's looming over them the whole time. And it's not through no fault of their own. It's just that once it gets too big for its boots, once it gets established and it's got a name, it's a lot more scary and a lot more sort of impactful on your life.
I think you're right. I think there are two types of people. There are people who, once they get a label for it, it actually gives them comfort, because then they can almost learn to get rid of, or not get rid of it, but manage it. And then you get the people who, once it's got a label, it becomes this massive monster that takes over their whole life. And I think that's the bit that I'm really cautious of. You know, I've known somebody in the past who went through a stage in her life, and she ended up going to the doctors and she told the doctor she thought she had anxiety. Now, to me, she didn't do anything to help herself. And I really struggle, because I just think if somebody's got an issue, deal with it. Deal with it. Move it on. What is it you want it to look like, and what is it you don't want it to look like? Do whatever you need to do, and then manage through it. But she almost, I wouldn't say reveled, because that's really mean, almost kind of made the problem a bigger problem, because she could say, oh, but I'm suffering from anxiety.
I think that sometimes it's a very difficult, like you say, it's very difficult to verbalize, because you don't want to, because it is hard, and it's like it becomes part of your personality, not through any choice of your own, through very much kind of like when you first start, you don't know what it is. So actually, it's nice to have a label.
Yes, exactly.
When you're having things like panic attacks, and when you just think you're going mad, or you think you're dying, or you think, all these horrible things. And there's that almost, I'd say, relief that that you've got anxiety. And then you sort of, that becomes part of your personality. And it kind of then, me in particular, when I stopped suffering from it really badly, I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what I was going to do. And like the day I realized that I could control it and manage it, I was like, well, hang on a minute, that's great. But who's Bevan anyway? And because I was just this anxious person, I was like this and that. So I totally get what you're trying to say, and I don't want people to misunderstand what you're saying. I get it, and I hope they get it when they listen, that it's not, you're not saying, oh, you love to have a label. It's like, it's nice to have a label because you know what it is. So it takes away all the anxious misunderstanding of what it could be, but then it can become another problem, because it's then, oh, I'm anxious and I'm never going to be any different from this. So yeah. You're
Bevan, and you suffer with anxiety. You are not somebody who has anxiety. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a really, like I said, I don't want anyone to misunderstand that I don't take it seriously, and I don't think it's an actual thing, and I don't think that people get really, really poorly from it, because I absolutely get that, and I'm really fortunate that I've never been in that place. But there are also some people who will let it grow and let it own them, rather than them owning it.
Absolutely. And it's because it's again, it's the way I teach people is you learn to manage anxiety, because anxiety is an emotion like any other, like joy, like sadness, like this, like that. To suffer from anxiety is suffering from an emotion. And actually, you can, emotions you can change with thought, and you can change your emotion by, but you're so stuck in it when you are suffering from anxiety. When you're an anxious person, you're almost stuck in one emotion. And it's that the lessons I teach people is that you can make it come and go almost. You can switch anxiety on and off, because it's so similar to excitement I've discussed before. And it's the sort of twins, if you like. The feelings are the same, the experience is the same. Me and you are in a queue for a roller coaster. I could be anxious, you could be excited about the very same thing, and we both could be sweaty palmed, and we both could be shaking a little bit, and our tummies could feel a bit weird. But they're exactly the same, and we stood side by side. But you love it, and I hate it. And it's this is it. It's knowing that it's an emotion, and not a, what's the word, like an affliction almost. It's like an overdose of an emotion, rather than I am anxiety, I am this thing. But that's a big deep rabbit hole, that one. I love it. So not suffered from it, I think the way you're talking, it's because of your attitude and the way you promote sort of promote your emotions and things like that. That's why you've not suffered from it almost.
Yeah. And is it because I'm fortunate? Is it because I'm a lucky one? Or is it because ever since I can remember, and I don't know where it came from, I have always encouraged myself to be really self-aware and really figure it out. And actually, I've just thought right now, I always used to journal. So I always kept a diary, as a teenage girl. Oh, God help me if anyone ever found them.
Right, you need to publish
them.
Oh
my God, yeah. I think I burnt them once. I think I went
through a good move.
I don't want anybody to read this stuff, but I used to write everything down. And so for me, the process of that was getting everything out of me and putting it onto a piece of paper, which meant I didn't own it anymore.
Which is day one of what I teach people when they're anxious.
Is it? Okay, right.
So, yeah, you've been doing that. It's almost like I said before, you've done the course at birth almost, that you're already doing the things that I would suggest people, you've got all these thoughts swimming around in your head, you put them on paper, you can step away and have that third party space between you and your thoughts, realize they're not you.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? I remember I travelled the world, and when I was in my early 20s, me and my backpack and my tent decided to, get on a random plane and travel around the world. And on my way back, I'd been in Australia for 9 months, been in New Zealand, Hawaii. I'd been in Hong Kong already, and I was in Bali, right? Single white female on her own in Bali, and I turned up from an aeroplane. Obviously, I didn't go by boat. Would have been a long journey. And I remember getting in a taxi and getting them to take me to this place that I'd rented out a room, and I was petrified. I have no idea why, but I was petrified because they are such lovely people out there. They just wanted to touch me. They just wanted to touch me. I was fair. They just wanted to touch me, and it scared the living daylights out of me. So I hid in my, 3 meter by 3 meter room for 2 days, flipping starving. Luckily I had a bottle of water. And I remember the moment of lying on my bed, and I haven't thought about this for ages, so it's really interesting. You've really triggered this. Lying on my bed with my diary out, writing my diary, and it was almost like I was the third person. And I was writing about how scared I was and how I've got another week there and how I'm going to have to try and get some food in the apartment because obviously I'm not going to be able to go out. And literally writing it down, I almost slapped myself around the face. And I was talking to myself as a third person. Oh, well, you've got 2 choices there, haven't you? You can just stay here for the next week, or you could kick yourself up the arse, get out that door and start figuring out what this is all about and actually seeing the place that you've been really excited about seeing. And
because you
see
the interior of a room, otherwise you've gone all the way to Bali and stayed in a room and starved.
Which if I hadn't have written that journal, I probably would have done.
Yeah, you'd still be there now. We'll be doing this from there.
Going on.
About anxiety, locked in anxiety in Bali.
Yeah,
totally different concept. But that's it. You've knocked the nail on the head.
Got to get it out.
You've got the thoughts out of your head. They're stopping swimming around. They're on paper. You can rationalize them. Look at whether they're helpful or unhelpful. This is why I teach people. Look whether they're, look what the actions you're taking from those thoughts and emotions. So, I'm scared, so I'm staying in. I've thought about this. It's made me scared, so I'm staying in. There's your thought action, and your result was you're still there. And it's exactly. And so maybe that process of journaling is something you've done all the time. I need to get these diaries. The locked in Bali diaries, part 2. Do it now.
But I haven't written a diary. I haven't written a journal for probably 20 years.
But the practice of organising, being aware of your thoughts, is what you've ingrained in your subconscious early on.
Yeah,
definitely.
I also my diary.
My thoughts were. I thought my thoughts were me. I thought because they're. I mean, this was until the age of 36 or something like that. I'm ancient now, but the realization that day that I was not my thoughts was massive for a 36-year-old man. Should have taught me that at 6. I'm 36. We got into this chat the other day whether it should be put in schools, primary schools, teach them how their brains work, because it took Carl Pilkington on an episode of the Ricky Gervais show to teach me I'm not my thoughts, which quite a surprise.
My daughter even this morning said to me, she said, "Mummy, biggest compliment she can ever give me, Mummy, how come you are so positive?"
That's brilliant.
And I was like, what a fabulous question, Lily. I tell you what, Lily, it's because I give power to the positive things in my life and the good things that happen rather than the other way around. And I think that unless you have somebody teaching you that, they're not going to teach it to you at school. I think they've started to, though, which I'm really pleased about. They have started to talk about mindset and the positive and the negative emotions and stuff like that, which they never did when I was at school. I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but it was maths, English and science if you're lucky.
Well, we couldn't do mindset on the abacus that we had, so it was quite difficult.
Exactly.
Yes, I am old. You see, I could talk about my birthday last week. I could do all the old jokes now. I'm like getting well old. When I realised I was closer to 50 than anything else, I was like, holy guacamole.
Oh,
Yeah, that hurt. So
you're as young as you feel, though, Bevan. You're as young as you feel.
I'm about 12 then, because I'm
There we go. There we go. Stick
childish.
to that.
I am properly childish. But that was a great thing. I'll quick tell you before I got off my birthday, my friend Phil bought me a mug and it had my name on. It was bright orange and it was in my company font. And I was like, oh, I can use this for like podcasts and I can show it off in pictures. And he goes, have you used it yet? And I was like, no, why? And he goes, I'd use it first before you say these things. So I put it in the coffee machine and slowly it changed colour. And where it said Bevan, the word smells came out underneath it.
I love your mate. That is classic.
And I was like, that is so cool. It's so like old school. Like, this is how childish we are. I was like, but I was giving it the big one about how I was going to use it in meetings. And it was like, my spidey sense kicked in when he said, have you used it yet? So yeah, that was the highlight of my last week. So moving on from my favourite topic of my anxiety, let's go on to how you help clients. What would you say was your like secret sauce that you've got that help your clients live a happier life and get them in a better place?
Oh, well, I guess the really obvious answer would be my level of positive energy. Like I'm bouncing off the walls the whole time. I can always see the good in anything and everything. But I'm not going to go into that. What I believe
I'm not going to give you that.
I'm not going to give you that one. I think there is something. I am a normal girl. You know, I come from a normal town. I went to a normal school with a normal upbringing. And I'm a straight talker. So, you know, yes, I know about how the brain works. Yes, I know about neuroscience and all the links in your brain. And I know about, you know, neuro-linguistic programming. And, you know, I've been coaching for 20 years. I've got all of that. And I can speak with scientists until the cows come home if I choose to. But I don't need my clients to understand all of what I understand. What I do is I make it really, really simple for them. I speak in normal language and I say it as it is so that people understand what the hell I'm talking about. And I think for that is gold dust, because people don't want to come to me and talk to me to be baffled with what I know. You know, I haven't got any ego. For me, my clients, it's all about them and it's all about helping them to understand. You know, it's about getting them to figure out how amazing they are and who it is they want to be. It's about helping them to figure out what they want in life and how to get it. And me baffling them with what I know is completely irrelevant to them. It's about using a language and using it in a way that they're going to understand it and that they're going to go home and keep on thinking about it. So I think the biggest thing is, you know, straight talking down the line. I say it as it is, and I've got a unique ability to be able to look between the lines of what somebody is telling me. Again, I'm that I what was that program? Catchphrase. Say what you see. Yes. Say what you see. Right?
Mr. Gibbs.
Yes, right. I used to love that program. I remember sitting on the sofa on a Saturday night with my sister and my mum and dad, and we used to love it. We used to have little competitions between ourselves. And that is, yes. And that is it. I say what I see. So if somebody's saying one thing, but they looking completely different, I'll tell them, well, hold on a minute. You've said this, but you look like that. So what's this bit in between here? What is it that you're not saying? What is it you're hiding back?
I'm worried now.
I'm watching you.
Yeah. You get when you meet people, like they go, are you analysing me now? You're like, no, I'm not doing that. No.
Yeah.
It's happened to me a lot recently. People are like, am I just talking as a friend right now? You're not like kind of looking into me. I'm like, I'm not an X-Men. I'm just like me.
Yeah. It is. I have to actually say to my husband a lot, right, do you want the answer as a coach or your wife? Because sometimes he wants it as a coach, which is probably a little bit more hard-hitting, actually, and it's a bit more brutal and a bit more honest. which I don't know if that's the right way around, but anyway, or if it's from the wife, it's a bit like, oh, I see how, I see what you mean. I can see why that's frustrating. I can see why that's, which is a little bit more fluffy. Now, some people might say, well, hold on, surely you should be a bit more brutal as a wife and a bit more fluffy as a coach, but it's not. People know what they're getting when they sign up to work with me. So
I just love the phrase,
if you can't handle it.
Brutal wife.
Yeah.
Again, as I was on about before, what goes in the show notes, brutal wife will definitely go in the show.
My poor husband.
Brutal wife.
People feel so sorry for him, bless him.
That's awesome. But yeah, I think that straight talking, sort of straight to the point. Like you say, if you're going to mend someone's car, you don't explain to them firstly how cars worked, how cars have been developed throughout the ages.
Exactly.
And you don't need to flex your car knowledge muscles in front of someone. It's like, can you put the new brakes on or not? It's like, yeah. And
don't get me wrong, when I first became a coach and first started training people and things like that, it was about me. I was in my 20s. It was about my ego. Well, let me tell you what I know, because I am flipping good at my job. And now I'm like, I am good at my job. I don't need anyone to tell me that. And I don't need anyone to feed my ego. I'm damn good at what I do. And therefore, I don't need to tell everybody that. And I don't need to tell them what I know and how I know it. I just need to help them.
You haven't got that feeling that you need to sort of establish your reputation in front of them as you sit there. And that's, I think, do you know what? I've actually cut my program down by a day because of that.
Have you? Yeah.
Because almost like that first session, not by a day, by a session, because that first hour was almost like, this is how the brain works, and like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I thought when I first wrote the program, that would be useful.
Yeah.
And actually, to people with anxiety, they're like, they come to you to get better, to get to feel better, to unlock their happy, as a quote I use. Oh my God, so bright.
Love that.
But it's like, they want that. They don't need to know, where the oil goes and the petrol goes and where the spark plugs are.
Yeah.
They just want to understand their situation.
Yeah.
If you can drop facts in on the way, yes, that builds up that kind of confidence. But the whole first session of how the brain works has been scrapped a while ago.
Yeah, completely. Good for you. Good
for me. Let's make this about me. Goddess.
Yeah, love it.
Talking about coaching, then, this is one of my favorite topics when I get on with coaches here. What's sort of a common myth you'd like to get rid of about coaching that you've heard a lot?
Oh, I could talk about this all day, honestly, because it is, it's the biggest growing industry in the world, isn't it? People, and particularly due to the pandemic and where we are with the world at the minute, so many people have come out the woodwork being a coach. And I guess for me, oh God, where do I start? There's a couple of, can I say a couple of things?
Of course you can.
Go against the grain. Is one, well, what is a coach? Because if I say to somebody, in general conversation, well, what do you do? I'm a coach. What the hell does that actually mean?
Yeah.
Because what I would call a coach, a pure coach, is somebody who asks you questions that you don't want to ask yourself to get your brain thinking, right? That is the way I see a coach. Now, some people see as a coach as, I have a piece of information that would be useful for you, and therefore I'm going to teach it to you.
Right.
Well, that can also be a coach. I'm a personal trainer, a physical personal trainer. That is a coach. Also mentoring. What's the difference between the coaching and the mentoring? For me, coaching is about, I'll ask you the questions and get you to think. Mentoring is about, you ask me the questions, and from my experience, I will help and give you the answers based on me. And it's that, what do I call myself? Am I a transformational coach? Because actually I take people from where they are now, from where they want to be, in a short, sharp, 7-week program or one-to-one coaching, and I do transform their entire life. But do I call myself a transformational coach? I kick people up the arse. I'm open, I'm honest. I give them that short, sharp shock of energy and positivity that kind of gets them from stuck to, whoa, right, let's do this.
You're the human defibrillator.
Yeah.
That's your superhero name. Human Defibrillator.
That's a brilliant idea. That is pretty much what I do. I inject them with this like
one of them pads. Like I can see your movie poster with the pads. Stand up.
Be ready. You know, so I guess the first thing is different people can call themselves a coach, but would have a completely different definition. And therefore, somebody who is looking for a coach really, really needs to figure out what it is that they need and what it is they want from a coach before they find one.
Yeah, because they don't want their arse kicking, and
there's no point coming to me
if they don't want brutal wife. Then they're going to want to go to someone different.
Yeah, exactly. If they want smoke blown up their backside, don't come to me. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm awesome at giving people confidence, and I'm
going to say I'm awesome at blowing smoke up people. You know? I'm awesome. Don't get me wrong, I'm awesome at that.
Tried. To be fair, I've never tried. I'm sure I'd be brilliant at it if I really wanted to be.
One I've not really tried.
Bloke smowing, bloke smowing, or smoke blowing, whichever way it is.
Bloke smowing.
Well, anyway. So you know, I'm brilliant at giving people confidence and getting them to realise they're great, and I am good at that. But in a way that I'll say it as it is, rather than, oh yes, I can see why you feel upset about that. Let's dwell on that for the next 5 hours and then see how you are at the end of it. You know, that isn't me. No. So I can't remember where we were going with that.
But no, it's that.
Where was I going with that? I was going with somewhere.
The myth of coaching and how it's what kind of coach you are. That then people, if you just say I'm a coach, no one's going to know what they're getting.
Yeah, people need to know what they need, and people need to be really clear of what they want from a coach. Absolutely. So that was my first point, is the whole...
And the new phrase bloke smowing is now in the common parlance.
Bloke smowing. And this is what I mean. I am a normal girl who speaks normal language and gets my words all muddled up all the time.
This is why I knew we'd have such a good chat. So part 2 of this myth busting.
Part two. So part 2 is you should not need a coach for long. So I know people who have had the same coach for 5 years. In my view, they're getting ripped off. Ripped off. You should not need the same coach for 5 years. It is nuts. For me, if I had the same person for more than 6 months, I've failed. I'm doing my job
because you've not moved them on in any way, shape or form.
Exactly. After, you know, for me, after 7 weeks, bosh, go fly.
Yeah, because I've got a system. 6 weeks, you should be able to manage your own anxiety. And my job here is done. Defibrillator woman flies off into the distance.
Yeah. You know, and maybe a few top ups here and there, and maybe, you know, the odd catch up and things like that, fine. But if I was with somebody for, you know, if you know what it is you need and you know who it is you want to help you, brilliant. Get in, give them some money, get them to help you so that you can figure that issue out faster than you would do on your own. Because everyone can figure it out by themselves, let's face it. You just need to read a few more books, go to a few motivational events, do a course, go to a conference, and 5 years later you can figure it out yourself.
Coaching is a shortcut through that woods, because we've been through the woods and we know what we're doing and we know the way is probably the best.
Yes. Yeah, and we give some kind of accountability, because if you're going to come see me, you're going to do the work, because you know I'm going to ask you what you've done.
Especially the brutal coaching that I've threatened here.
You know, so I think it's a time frame. One is what kind of coach you want, and what it is you want them for means that you're not going to get ripped off, because you should be able to get what you need in a period of time, and a coach should be able to give you an approximate amount of time that they can do that in.
You're going to do all my adverts from now on. Get in, give him some money, feel better, get out of there.
I pay my coach X, Y, Z, and I have done every month for the last 5 years. I'm like, oh, wow. Really? Oh,
yeah, I mean, let's not name that coach, but crikey.
I won't name and shame, don't worry.
I mean, yeah, if you've not nowhere in 5 years, I mean, good on that coach, because they're absolutely raking it in, they're taking the mickey, but still, you're not very sort of, it's not very ethical to say I haven't moved them on much. I mean, no one should get that amount of coaching. Anyway.
Exactly. Well, it's a bit like a personal trainer, isn't it? So I used to teach CrossFit. I don't know if you've heard of CrossFit.
I've heard the name, but I have no idea what it is. I keep hearing about it, and I've got no idea what it is.
Oh, it's functional fitness, basically. So it's a bit of a mixture between weightlifting, gymnastics, and circuit training type thing. It's pretty hardcore. It's pretty hardcore. It's pretty hardcore. Now, if I was teaching somebody some kind of weightlifting, say a deadlift or a squat, and that didn't move on in terms of how they moved or the amount of weight that they were lifting, 3 months later, well, I'm a crap coach, to be quite frank. And it's exactly the same. Just because physically you can see if somebody's got fitter, or you can see if they've got stronger, or you can see if they've lost weight, it's so much harder when it comes to mentally and emotionally, because that's what we do, isn't it? We help people mentally, emotionally. That's really hard for other people to see. And therefore, it's really hard for a coach to pull the wool over somebody's eyes, to be able to go, oh, yeah, but you need me a little bit longer. And it guts me, because I just think it's wrong. And I really, there are so many people out there, like any industry, there are the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good,
the word charlatans, one of my favourite.
Yes,
some
charlatans out there. There are some charlatans out there that would take the mickey out of people and take their money and not do a good job. That's
an industry with charlatans.
That does my head in.
There we go. So, moving on to career and personal development, things like that. Are they sort of three people you would say that have shaped your style, or the way you coach, or just the way you are in general?
Do you know what? There is a woman, and I'm going back years. So how many years would I be going back? Probably 30, late 28, 29 years.
This is the bit where the host goes, no, that can't be possible. You look so young.
Yeah, thank you. I love you, lady, don't you know?
Sponsorship is available.
And I was, let's be frank, a bit of a bitch at school.
Wow.
Right? Okay. I was a bit of a bitch. I was a bit of a rebel. I was quite a big rebel. And, did I like myself back then? No. Did I manage to change it around? Yes.
Do we need to get older diaries because these are the good years? Absolutely.
Yes.
Good film.
Yes. They would. It would be quite. It would have to be an 18. And and I got to a point where none of the teachers wanted to teach me. It was very obvious. I was a cow. I didn't want to listen. I'm dyslexic as well, and in English. So for me, reading out loud is my worst nightmare. I can talk out loud, but get me to read, and I used to freeze because I knew that I couldn't do it. And so as a teenage girl, the best way to get out of that is be naughty and get chucked out of the class before you had to read.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my tactic. So there was things like that. So it got to a point when none of the teachers wanted to be in their class. And I was earwigging. What I was doing earwigging in the staff room, I have no idea. But I was earwigging in the staff room.
Okay, Grange Hill, this, like Marmalade Atkins. Loving it.
Yeah. Oh, I used to love Grange Hill. Oh, loved it. It was my favourite. Remember the sausage that came in the fork?
Yeah.
I don't know why I remember that.
In the video in a bit.
Yeah. And I was earwigging outside the staff room, and I could hear all of the teachers basically saying what a no-hoper I was, how I'd never lead to anything, how I was hideous and I was stupid, and they were done in with me. There's no point putting any effort into me anyway, because I wasn't going to lead anywhere. And they were basically trying to figure out who was going to have me in one of their classes. I don't know if it was maths or English.
You were pulling a straw, so you got the short one.
They were. They literally were, right? And it hit me like a thunderbolt. It literally hit me that they were calling me a no-hoper. And all of a sudden, Mrs. O'Farrell, who was the oldest teacher there, she taught like child development or something, but she was an old school teacher. She was lovely. She was like your granny, if you think of your granny, she was like lovely. And she basically went, excuse me, everyone, actually, she's got some really good potential in there. And when she wants to work hard, she can work hard. So actually, I think we should give her a chance. And it was almost like the grey clouds opened and there was this ray of sunshine that had given me an opportunity to turn it around. Because I thought, right, who do I want to prove right and who do I want to prove wrong? And I decided in that moment that they all laughed at her. And I thought, actually, I'm going to do this for her. It's easier sometimes to do it for something for someone else,
Absolutely,
isn't it, than yourself. So I decided I was going to prove her right and prove all of them wrong by turning things around. And within a year, I became head girl. I inducted a new headmistress into the school, and I'd set up an anti-bullying campaign county-wide to stop bullying. All because of what she said, when she doesn't even know to this day the impact she made on my life, because she had belief in me. And I think that's one of the reasons I do what I do. I want to instill belief in people that haven't got it in themselves, just at that turning point, to allow them to know that somebody thinks they are amazing.
I'm not speaking. I just love that so much. I'm like gobsmacked at that story. It's awesome. Now,
amazing.
The cynic in me and the investigative kind of did Mrs. O'Farrell know you were listening?
No, she couldn't have done. She couldn't have done.
Otherwise, she did. She's the most genius teacher that ever lived.
Oh, yeah, completely.
But I tell you what, it's a good. That's a good scene in the origin story of Defibrillator Girl, when she realizes her true path in life. And then, like the Disney ending, and I became a head girl and introduced a new thing. It's perfect.
I put it all down to her. I literally put it all down to her. So that's my first one.
Wow.
And there's a theme. Oh, I don't know if I could beat it, because I think she put me on the right path. But actually, there's definitely a theme, because my second person is a lady called Sarah Edwards. And actually, I'm going to send this to her, because she has no idea about all of this either. So, next university.
She should find herself watching it.
Yeah, I'll make sure. I'll try. Yeah, I'll try and do something cool. So Sarah, I went to university, did a 4-year degree in human resources, because I always knew that people were my thing. And then after that, travelled the world for a couple of years, went crazy and did ski seasons and island hopped around the Grand Canaries and travelled and all that kind of stuff. And I came back, and my first job was recruitment for the Savoy Hotel in London.
Hence why you can teach me how to make a proper cup of coffee.
Exactly. Always make sure you put the milk in first with coffee and your milk in second with tea. Yes. So I'm glad that you're doing that now. And
I took it, and loads of people got involved and leathered me about when putting my milk in first, but because it came straight from the Savoy Hotel, it had the extra weight that it needed to force me off the line.
Love that. I love it. So I worked at the Savoy recruiting. So, I travelled to Thailand and Germany, because at that point we were getting loads of people. Nobody in the UK wanted to work in hospitality. So we had to go further afield to bring them into the Savoy. Did all the interviewing, recruited all the people, and it was a continued basis because turnover is quite high. But actually, we needed to get somebody in training. So once they come in the door, teaching them like the induction, which was, how we do things around here. Yeah, how to put your milk in, customer service, team leadership, all that kind of stuff. So they advertised this role. And bold as brass, I walked into the HR director's office and just put myself forward and just said, look, I want to apply for the training job. Because the standing in front of a room and talking to people and teaching them and helping them to progress really sounded quite cool. And he said at the time, he said no. He said, because we need somebody who's got experience to come in and hit the ground running. And as much as I think that you would be brilliant at the role, in a year's time, I would have to train you up, and that's not what we need at the moment. We need someone to. So now I totally understand it. At the time, I was gutted.
Fuming.
I was absolutely gutted. I kind of got it from a business perspective, but personally, I was like, oh, well, how am I going to get into training? Anyway, I used to do go to quite a lot of networking events with hospitality. And I just so happened to really admire this woman called Sarah, who was at this networking event, and she was doing some kind of talk on, I think it was team leadership or the need for values in an organisation or something like that. And we just so happened to get talking at the end of the event. And then we just so happened to get on the same tube in London. And I told her, and she'd said something about a role in her hotel. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, but I'm handing my notice in tomorrow. She went, what? I said, well, I've just got a job as a trainer at a different hotel group. Because once I decided that I wanted to do training, I wanted to do it. And therefore I needed to go and apply for a job and got another job, etc. And she went, stop right there. She said, because it's the weirdest thing that you just told me this. She said, because my training manager handed her notice in this morning and we will be advertising the role next week. She said, so before you hand your notice in, come and see me at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I was like, what?
Wow.
And I wasn't ready for a training manager job. I'd never done any training before. So I was like, oh, okay. So next morning I strolled into, this was Claridge's Hotel, and had a meeting with her.
Another rather decent property.
Well, if you're going to do it, you have to do it, darling. And cut a long story short, she offered me the job then there. And so I did still hand my notice in, but it was for Claridge's, which was a bigger job in a bigger hotel, more prestigious hotel. And it was amazing. Oh, yeah. Absolutely amazing. Just so happened to talk to her, be honest with her about I was handing my notice in, happened to be on the same tube as her. She happened to have a role open up that morning. And she believed in me. So again, it was another thing that put me on the right track, because one, I put myself forward, but two, she believed in me enough to, yes, I haven't got experience, but I can see something in you and I'm going to give you a shot.
She employed you based on your personality and skills of sort of what she saw in front of her, rather than, which is sometimes a little bit annoying when people, I mean, you know, here's me running, people sort of employ people based on CVs, based on history, when actually they're probably jaded, they've been doing that job too long, they're stuck in the old ways of doing that job, when actually coming into a company could be perfectly what you need. So
yeah, exactly. And it's a bit like coaching, isn't it? You know, okay, I've got over 20 years experience as a coach. I might be sitting next to somebody who's got 6 months as a coach. It doesn't mean I'm better and they're worse. It just means we're different. Exactly. We've got different experiences and we've got different ways of being. We've got a different brand of ourselves. We would attract different people. It doesn't mean better or worse. It's just different.
Time. I mean, time can mean some things in certain industries, but you're talking about stuff like the more sort of, you know, whittling wood into shapes, you know, that the older way of working. Yeah. Time honored, time sort of served was seen as being more skilled, whereas not necessarily the point now. But yeah, I like that story, so I hope Sarah does too.
Yeah. So she really impacted. My belief in me, I think, is the biggest thing there. And finally, I feel like I've been talking for hours. I'm sorry.
All right, no, that's the idea, you see. It's kind of how it works.
Oh, good. And finally, I have to say my parents. I know that's two, but I'm going to put them in one block.
You have on this too, yeah.
Can I have that? Because I was going to say my mum, and I thought I can't say my mum without my dad. Well, yeah,
that causes family ructions. We can't have that.
Yeah, I can't have that. Can't have that. And so I suppose that how have they helped me? Well, how haven't they helped me, I guess? But I think the biggest thing is my mum has always gone with anything I've said. I don't mean like she hasn't, you know, given me guidelines, but if I've said I'm going to travel, mum's like, yeah, go travel. If I said I'm going to travel up to London, I'm going to get a job in Savoy Hotel, yeah, go on, get up to London, get your bum up there, yeah, that'd be good for you. If I said, actually, I'm going to quit it all and start my own business, yeah, go for you, yeah, you'll be brilliant at that. You know, she's always been the person who she would never stop me doing anything. And in fact, probably in recent years, I've realised how much she has probably sacrificed to allow me to follow my dreams, but she's absolutely allowed me to do it. And she's kind of given me the strength of character to be able to not just say, I'd love to do this, but I'd never be able to go, yeah, I'd love to do this. Well, go do it then.
Well, it's unconditional support.
Yeah, completely. And again, belief in me and belief that I'd learn from it and grow from it and grab the opportunities while you can, I guess.
And going back to my topic of anxiety, this is probably why you've not got that. You've not got a parent, because a lot of anxiety is nurture and what your parents say to you and what goes in your subconscious. You've not got a parent going, oh, is that a good idea? Should you do that? They're not putting the fear into you as such.
Oh, I haven't gone into my dad yet.
Yeah, that's an expert at that. But go on.
no, I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right. You know, I am.
It, you know, what can you lose?
Yeah.
Bang, go getting stuck in, and you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I
What's
think,
that up to?
well, Dad is the pessimist. Dad is the well, you finish school and you get a job and you stay in that job.
By the sounds.
You stay in that job for 50 years and then you retire. You know, why would you not want to do that? So I guess Dad's very much like, what do you mean you want to go to university? You know, he probably thought, brilliant, you know, end of school, great, done, no more payments for us. Whereas, you know, my mum would have said, well, I never got the opportunity to go to university. Yeah, of course we're going to work extra hard and allow Debbie to go to university. You know, she can get a job and while she's there and she can support herself to a certain extent.
I'd like to see the behind-the-scenes arguments between these.
Oh, honestly.
The queen of positivity and the king of groundedness, almost. Sort of this yin-yang argument would be awesome to watch.
Yeah. Oh, completely. Fly on the wall would be hysterical. Now, here's the one, finish university. Well, that's it now then. What do you mean that's it? Well, we won't be paying for you ever again on anything. You know, it's time to get a job, Debs. It's time to get a job. You know, if you want to live in our house, you pay rent. Well, yeah, okay, I get that. But calm down a bit. All right. And on the other hand, I'm going, yeah, go travelling if you want to go travelling. You've saved for it. Go do it. But you've got to get a job on your way around. We're not paying for it. And I was like, I'm not expecting you to pay for it. But Dad couldn't understand why anyone would want to go travelling, or why would anyone want to commute up to London for a job? Why would you want to have stress in your life? You know,
that's a very good question. Yeah, why would you want to have stress? But yeah, very opposite characters. But then that probably makes for a really nicely sort of equal upbringing. You know, you've got the sort of a little bit of caution, but with the kind of 100% support. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I've got the dreamer, the big dreamer. Yeah, go for it. With the kind of rational realist saying, well, you can go for it, but you can do that on your own terms because, you know, we won't be paying and we won't be here for you. And, you know, we might rent your room out and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, right, okay.
That's such a dad sentence. Once you're gone, I'll be making some money on your room.
So it is that balance. I was very, very fortunate to have that balance of the two of them to give me the rational, logical, practical side versus the go-getter, dreamer side. And I think that, and I've got both really firmly within me. You know, if I get too dreamy, this one goes, whoa, there,
on the shoulder.
Yeah, massively. And if I get too practical, the other one's going, whoa, what about these dreams? So I've definitely...
It's some puppets when you do that. Some little mum and dad puppets.
Like that, yeah. So yeah, I'm very fortunate. I feel very fortunate.
That's fab. That's really three really good things. So I'm a big reader. I like to read as many. In fact, I've got several books on the go at once usually. Is there a book that you would say to the listeners and watchers, this book's the one? Or
yes. And
I've got a prop.
I've got it.
Do you know?
I've got a prop.
I would never have bought a prop, but everyone that's ever been on has always got a prop.
I've got a prop. And what I will say is, because I very rarely read, I always listen. Audible has allowed me to start my personal development. I love learning.
You're on, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm like a sponge. I love learning. In fact, I'm at my best when I'm learning. If I'm not learning something new, I'm like, and so I'm very, very self-aware with that. But not reading, particularly learning books. I just wouldn't, because I couldn't do that before bed because it turns my brain on before bed. So I have to switch my brain off before bed. So Audible was brilliant. And then what I do is, if I love the book, I'll then buy it.
Okay.
So
Jensen Zero. Love Jensen Zero.
Oh my God, she is amazing.
Suppose that are listening, it's called You Are a Badass by Jensen Zero.
Yeah. How to stop doubting your greatness and start living an awesome life. I mean, it's probably no surprise to you that this is one of my favourite books.
Not at all. I was actually, do you know what? I had my money on that. Noah Hibbett's book, possibly. Or who else did I have on? That kind of like anything by Sarah Knight, who I really like as well.
Oh, I haven't heard of her. Oh. No, I've got Noah's book.
Noah's book's great.
Noah's book's up there. I've actually bought that as well, because it's always a compliment if you've got a book on the bookshelf.
Oh, right. Well, wait till mine's out then.
Yeah. Get it out. Get it out.
I'll send you a free
I'll
copy.
have to listen to it.
Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine listening to me for a few hours? Jeez.
I'd give people a headache if I ever wrote a book and put it on Audible. They'd be like, can you just shut that girl up? Oh my God, she's doing my head in.
I'm wandering off onto different topics. I'm like, anyway, oh, there's a burn outside. That's the editing on my audiobook read through will be massive. So what's about Jen Sincero's book that kind of does it for you?
You know what? I think she is somebody that she says it as it is. She's real. She doesn't reel off like all the science and all the theory. And I know that's some people's bag. Like my husband loves all that stuff. He's like the theory and the science. I'm like, I don't need to know all that. If I need to know it, I'll do some research on it. But she's just honest about what it takes and pulling out the goodness in you, but making sure that you are taking ownership for that, because no one else can do it for you, can they? You know, with all of this stuff, and you know this more than most people, is nobody can help you with your anxiety. You know, you have to decide that you are going to manage your anxiety. Other people might have hints and tips and some solutions for you, but it's down to you. And I think that was a big thing with her, is that it's about how I can stop doubting myself and how I can step into me and being flipping awesome at being me, because actually I'm going to be a hell of a lot better at being me than I am trying to be someone else.
Absolutely. Be yourself, everyone else is taken kind of vibe.
Yes. Yeah.
What are you going to be any better at than being you? I mean, it's probably the only thing that you can be perfect at.
Yes. Not that I encourage people to be perfect, but yes.
I mean, it's the
only thing you can be perfect at.
Because everything else, there's going to be someone slightly better than you at something. Even when you're Usain Bolt and you're the fastest man on the planet, there'll be someone sneaking up the outside who will be the fastest man on the planet another day. And I tell you what, there'll never be another Bevan Thompson doing exactly what I do. Yeah. There you go. So it's a great. But I also like her one on You're a Badass at Making Money as well. I quite like that one. The next one.
Oh, I haven't read that one actually.
Really good. So if there's one thing people can do every day to make their life better, have you got one thing you do every day to make your life more harmonious?
I've got a couple of things, but I think the biggest thing, and I think the biggest thing that hasn't just impacted me, but it's impacted my family, is without fail at the dinner table every night, the question will be asked, and it's not always me asking it anymore. It is often the kids that ask the question, what's the best thing that happened in your day today?
Oh, love it, because it's a bit of gratitude at the dinner table. Everyone gets to hear what, and your kids started asking the question now. That's really good.
Yeah, they're so used to us asking it that, and it just means that if you've had a really crappy day, actually, when you look at that crappy day, there's probably been about 10 minutes of that day that was crappy.
It's just affected you throughout the day. Yeah.
And then you just make it into this massive thing. You give it so much power because you've given it so much energy that actually the realism is it hasn't been a crappy day. It's been actually quite a good day. Just had a crappy 10 minutes. So by flipping it and saying, okay, what's the best thing about your day? It gets us all thinking of at least one thing.
And that has been good. So you're always looking for the good in the day, which I like as well. And like you're focusing on the positives from the day. It's like if you said, how was school? Boring. And we did this, we did that.
We did nothing.
What, they never do anything at school. What did you do today? Nothing, really. But yeah, you're asking for a specific positive answer. I like that. That's brilliant. Oh, I think every family in the country should do that.
Oh, it is so different. Yeah. That's my thing. That's my thing. And it makes it massive. And even better is that before you go to bed, if you write that thing down as well.
Ah, there you go.
So it's the same thing, but do it at the dinner table. And then if you could write it down before you switch the light off for bed, write the at least one thing that was the best part of your day. Just puts you to bed, feeds your dreams, means you wake up better in the morning, feeling better because you went to bed nicely. And it's just this cycle that just goes up and up and up of positive energy, basically.
Gratitude in general is a really good thing to do, and it keeps you in the moment. It keeps you in. It makes you realize what good things are out there and what good things are happening to you. Because if you're focusing solely on the bad things, you are going to get more anxious, depressed, down, not reach your goals, all these things. And all the books that I'm suggesting, all the books you're suggesting, they've all got that kind of look for the positive, look for the sort of, Noel's book about manifestation, be grateful. Yeah, gratitude is hugely important. And that one way of doing it, it's a very subtle way of teaching your kids gratitude, actually. Because if you sit there and say, right, 5 things that you love about, let's have our gratitude time, everyone's a bit like, oh, I'm not doing that. Whereas name one good thing about your day, it's very simple, it's throwaway, and it's, that's great. Love it. Okay, I'm obsessed with time travel, as you may know. I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to things like that. If I could lend you my time machine for a little bit, and you could go back and see 20-year-old you, who sounds a bit like a trickster. Actually,
no, I was over it by then. I was pretty cool by the time I was 20.
Let's go back to 20-year-old you, because I'm terrified of school you. Probably steal my pocket money and flush my head down the toilet. So, if you go back and see 20-year-old you, what would you say to them? What piece of advice would you have for them?
Oh, do you know what? I would defibrillate her.
Of course you would. It's your superpower.
That's my superpower. I would let her know that she is flipping awesome. I would let her know that she does not have to conform to the way that everybody else does things, because her way is her way, and that is good enough. That is the absolute biggest thing I would say to her.
It's awesome. Everyone should get you to coach them. I just love this. I love this real positive kind of, tell you what, I'll be signing up later on today. This is my last 2 questions are always my favourite on this podcast. I love it. What's the one question that you would have liked me to ask you that I haven't?
Ooh, the one question. I guess there's 2 coming to my head. Why is it that you ask me one thing and every time 2 things come into my head? This is my rule breaker. This is my I will not conform coming out, and I didn't even realise it.
28 questions you would have liked me to ask you.
I guess. How can you work with me?
Hang on a moment. I'll do what I normally do.
Okay.
So Debbie, let me ask you, how can people work with you?
Oh, what a great question, Bevan.
I like to ask good questions.
Love that. So there's 2 main ways. So in the past, I've done mainly one-to-one coaching, which has been more business focused, but is now more personal focused, because actually personal business, it links in the 2, obviously. You're not 2 different people, you're one person. So I do one-to-one coaching, but the biggest shift since lockdown is I now run a 7-week transformational program, which is basically to give people a kick up the arse to remember who they are, what they want, and how to get it. It is focused on women, however, some men have shown an interest, which is totally cool.
And it's pretend, a bit like on
You have to, get your lippy on and your
men here. No.
Put those voices on. I'm all cool with that, Bevan. I'm open to everyone. And it stems down from women are usually the caregivers. They are usually the people who have the main responsibility for children or elderly parents. And actually, the biggest thing that I found when I had my children was, what was my identity? What was my identity? Because actually, mummy, although it is the most important job in the entire world, for some of what we've just been talking about, of our parents and how we were brought up, really affects us massively. So God, the pressure's on being a parent, but it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough in terms of just being a mum. I needed something else, and actually that's okay. So I really encourage people that if you want to be a full-time mum, be a full-time mum. If that's what makes you happy. If you want to be a full-time worker, be a full-time worker if it makes you happy.
Yeah.
Figure out what it is you want and what it is.
There's an awful lot of guilt from women going, oh, I don't want to be a mum full-time, but then everyone else is being, and I should be. And I totally see that. Yeah.
And I've tried it. I've tried buttering sandwiches because I was on the committee at the preschool. I've tried being on the PTA and running events. And do you know what? I can't bloody do that shit anymore.
I'm going to say,
seriously.
that is probably
Seriously.
the strongest recipe for disaster ever. Putting Debbie on a lunch. Yeah. No,
I'm just like, do you know what? And actually, to be fair, I made those sandwiches pretty funky looking and like mixed it up a little bit. It wasn't just triangles and squares.
From the Claridge's, Savoy, those sandwiches would have been bloody brilliant.
They're brilliant. But, you know, I can still contribute to the school. I can still contribute to the preschool in a different way. You know, I've run some life coaching sessions for the school as a fundraiser. That is me. And actually finding your own way of being you and still contributing and being you and still having your own identity. And that's why I launched the 7-week program, so that people can do it together, because actually the need for community at the moment is huge. So I have a community of kick-ass women.
So what's the program?
Kick-ass women who basically want to. It's called Kick-Ass. Because it's there, and actually it was named because they were kicking themselves up the arse rather than necessarily me kicking them up the arse, but they've got a framework to do that with. And actually it's going to go live. It starts again on the 3rd of May, so I'll be opening the doors at the end of April. And Instagram is my main. Absolutely. I'll be brutal. No, I won't.
So what's your Instagram if people want to get hold of you?
It's Stronger Inside and Out.
I knew that, but I thought I'd get you to say it because, you know,
Stronger Inside and Out.
I would definitely recommend it. But if you do, like my wife, if you have Wonder Woman trainer envy, then don't.
Yeah. I haven't even worn my Wonder Woman trainers yet.
He's fuming. Anyway, so my last question is always fun. It's the question that my previous guest asked the next guest.
Oh, yes.
And if I'm honest, I've completely forgotten what it was.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yes, please, because, all right, please, because I would edit it out and pretend. We usually have it written down, and today I haven't.
It was, would you prefer to have £1 million or to go back and change something in your life?
That's it. I won't edit this out. I'll be perfectly honest and say you've done your homework and I haven't. So you had £1 million. Would you prefer £1 million or the chance to go back and change something? Was the question, wasn't it? Yeah.
Do you know what? For me, it's a no-brainer. I'm so glad. Whoever it was, say thank you to them for me.
Oh, Jessie, the lovely yoga lady, Jessie Cole.
Oh yes, say thank you, because for me, 100% £1 million. Because
right, okay. She's not going to give you £1 million, just so you're aware.
Oh. Are you joking? That wasn't in the small print. That was not in the small print, honestly. And it's a simple one, because I wouldn't change anything in my life, ever. You know, I've had goods, I've had bads, I've had uglies, but every single part of my life I've learned something, and everything's happened for a reason. It might not be obvious at the time what that is, but actually I wouldn't be me sitting here right now with the wisdom that I've got and the energy I've got if I hadn't been through what I have in the past. So
and £1 million.
And £1 million, yeah. So £1 million, please, Bevan. Lovely.
No, I just I was sniggering during that. I've had the uglies. It was just making me laugh.
But the uglies, oh God.
I was like,
that's another one.
This is a great answer. Keep it together. Stop sniggering about the uglies. So then, and I promise not to forget your question. What question would you like to ask my next guest next week?
So I want to find out what would be the 3 items that they would take with them onto a desert island.
Brilliant. Oh, and have you got 3 that you'd take with you?
What would I take?
I didn't prepare you for that.
Question.
Great question. Who came up with that?
Some genius. Mozzie spray.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'd be bitten to death.
Mozzie spray. They love me. I obviously taste really nice. I must have sweet blood. They fly past my husband to get to me. It's bizarre. So, yeah, literally, they just want to nibble. So, for me, Mozzie spray. This is where my practical side comes out.
Yeah, that's your dad all around there.
2 would be. Yeah, this is dad. This is totally dad. Mum, it is the fact that I'd be on an island in the first place.
There you go.
Dad is if you're going. Make sure you've got your Mozzie spray. A knife, pen knife, Swiss Army knife.
Bear Grylls, yeah.
You know. I was a girl guide, you know, you go prepared. And the third thing would be a bag of seeds.
Oh, you're very practical.
I'm very
I'd have been like a lilo, that's a football. I'll be dead in 20 minutes, but I'll have a lilo and a football.
I did think of lipstick, because my lipstick is a bit like my armour. I put my lipstick on and it makes me feel good. Whatever's going on in the weather, I've got bright lipstick on and big earrings, I can cope with everything. But then I thought, well, actually, let's break this down. Because actually it's normally pink or red or orange. And actually, if I have some seeds for fruit trees, I could use the juice to make sure I still got my lippy on.
This is proper Tom Hanks survival on an island. There's me drawing a face on my football. There's you with your lipstick on, shouting about, not having mosquitoes. You've got
swanning around, eating my blueberries and eating my pears. And
if you ever get stranded, you want to be stranded with Debbie and not me. There's the unless you want a 20-minute game of football before you starve to death.
Exactly. I love it.
Brilliant. Honestly, it's been absolutely a pleasure to have you on here. I'd like I say, I want to get you on for ages, and I knew we'd have such a laugh. And it's so full of really, really good information for people to listen to. I think it's fabulous. And yeah, get in touch with Debbie on Instagram on Stronger Inside and Out isn't it? Your Instagram.
It is indeed.
I'll quickly say my free ebook is still available, Calm Mind, Worry Less in 7 Days. Pop along to www.thewellbeingwiz.com/calm mind. Get a copy there. And yes, next week we're back with another guest. But thanks very much for coming on, Debbie. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. It's been fab. Bye.